Most people are still trying to decide if we're going to go into a recession or we're going to have a market crash or what is going to happen in the housing market. So I wanted to kind of give you a couple of statistics. And statistics are fascinating to me because they're by the whole country. So like these statistics are going to be national statistics. Man, those words are hard to say together, but if we got down to the micro level, we would still be in that area because our area is in such a booming economy right now. So nationally, what we've seen over the last 5 years is that home prices have gone up 56.1%. Now, this is according to the National Association of Realtors in Keeping Current Matters. So 56%. So that means if you had bought a house for $100,000, it would now be worth $156,000. And that's kind of amazing, y'all, that we've seen that kind of growth in the last 5 years. Now, on the downside of that, all of us are frustrated with the property tax. And, we can debate whether we should be paying that much money in property taxes. We can try to get them to lower it. But at the end of the day, we're kind of stuck paying property taxes if we're in the house. And remember, if you've not filed your homestead exemption, to please go and do that because it does help on your property taxes. Not a huge amount, but it does help some. So if they've gone up 56% in the last 5 years, if we go a little bit further, since 1991, y'all, they've gone up 290%. Now, that's even accounting for that 2008 and that housing crisis. So we call that the housing crisis. And the reason we call it that is because everything that was happening was focused on houses. So like the people who lost their jobs primarily were connected to housing. So if you know mine and Chad's story pretty well, you'll know that when that happened, we went through that process too. I was a stay-at-home mom, and Chad worked for a company that did marble bathtubs, and that 90% of their business was new construction. All they did was put in bathtubs in and counters and other things, but in the new construction. So when that happened, everybody in the plant and the office pretty much got laid off because there was no new construction happening. So everybody that was losing their jobs for the most part had something to do with housing or construction or lending. Well, that's different than a recession, because what a recession does is kind of goes across all industries. So when we have a recession, historically, home prices have gone flat or just rose 2 to 3%. So that's what they're thinking that we're going to kind of be in, or maybe already are, in some kind of mild recession. And that's not going to be the same thing as a housing crisis. And remember that housing crisis, there was a lot of influences of why that was happening. One of it was they were building more houses than we had buyers. Another thing was there was a lot of mortgage fraud and lending fraud. That's why they changed the rules and tightened up on that. Appraisals were much different than they are now. And they kind of eliminated that happening because it was really devastating for that one industry, but not overall for the recession. So the question is, knowing that, does it change what you think? And I'm not the biggest Dave Ramsey fan. I've listened to him some. I like some of what he says. I don't like some of what he says. But I was intrigued because he said recently that right now is the best time to buy a house for the next 5 years. And the reason he's saying that is because what he says is you can buy a house right now, and you know what the interest rate is going to be if you buy a house today. Let's say it's 6.83, and interest rates never go down, and the interest rate would never go up. You'd be locked in for 30 years, y'all. So if they do go down, you have the option to refinance, but if they don't, you don't have to. But what he knows is over the next 5 years, more and more buyers are going to be coming out to buy houses because that young generation is starting to be in their early 20s and 30s, and that's when they buy houses. But our parents are living longer, and guess what? They're staying in their houses longer. Healthcare has changed, so you've got these dynamics happening. So you might want to think about buying.